Hey guys, John here. I finally have the Universal Audio Anti 1992 high gain amp pedal in the studio, and we're going to have some fun with this thing. I'm going to show you how to make this thing sound awesome, and we're going to compare it to my real Peavey 6505 1992 original. Now, I already did a video with this pedal when I was at 42 Gear Street, Henning's awesome event. And in that video, Henning goes over the features and stuff, so that's a fun video as well. Mendel is in it, Glenn is in it. If you haven't seen that video, check it out up here. But yeah, my initial impressions of this pedal were really good, but I was really excited to try this pedal in my own studio, you know, with my own gear, in my own environment, basically. So that's what we're gonna do today. And at 42 Gear Street, I did not have access to the app, which I do now, and that app makes quite a difference, so more about that in a minute. First, let's start with a heavy demo song with this pedal, and yeah, let's have some fun. Check it out. Alright, that sounded great! So that was my Schecter E1 SLS Elite with the Fishman Fluence modern pickups in it. On the bridge pickup, on the active voicing, into the pedal, the Anti. Everything stock, so with the built-in cab sim and all that stuff. And then into my DAW. So yeah, I thought it sounded really, really good. In terms of the settings, I tried to sort of match the settings that I use with my real amplifier. So the bass, mid, and treble controls were set to around 6 or so. Gain to about 1 o'clock. Presence to about 2 o'clock or so. And the resonance to about 1 o'clock or so. With my real amplifier, I like to set the resonance a bit higher. So the taper on that pot reacts a little bit differently, but that's fine. And I did not use the built-in boost pedal function because this thing has a built-in pre-boost, which is awesome. But that Fishman Fluence modern ceramic pickup is really tight by default, so it didn't really need a boost in my opinion. Now let's go over the features of this pedal really quickly. You can power this thing with your 9-volt power supply, center negative, and you have a stereo input as well as a stereo output. You can connect the unit to your computer with USB for firmware updates and stuff. And of course you have the Bluetooth app, which you can use to sort of tweak the sound of the amplifier and the features even further. Now you've got the basic controls and the alternative controls. The basic controls are pre-gain, presence, and output for these top 3 controls, and for the bottom controls a 3-band EQ, so low, mid, and high. And then when you set it to the alternative control with this switch over here, so click it to the top, this top control turns into your resonance control for the low-end thump. This is the gate threshold, and then these bottom 3 controls, you can use them to tweak the boost, so overdrive gain basically, overdrive tone, and overdrive level. With the channel switch over here, you can choose between rhythm, crunch, and lead, just as with the real amplifier. With the cab switch, you can choose between 6 different cabinets, as well as a cabinet off function, which we will use later in the video. And then with the middle switch, when you press it down, hold it down, you can store the preset. Now, as I said, with the app, you can do even more, which is great. You can choose the boost type, for example, choose between a tube screamer and a TC electronic pre, which is great. Those are great for adding a lot of aggression and tightness to the tone, which people often do with these types of amplifiers. I would use that especially for extended range guitars. You can choose between the high and low inputs, just as with the real amplifier. If you're on the rhythm channel, you can also enable the bright switch. You can tweak the gate settings even further here, which is awesome. You can set the room level, and you can also change the bias to warm, cool, or choke warm and choke cool. I did some experimenting and I liked the normal warm setting the most. Cool sounded a little bit too fizzy for my taste, and choke was a little bit too compressed. And that's one of the things that I noticed when we tried this thing as 42 Gear Street, that it was a little bit saggy here and there. And one thing that made a huge difference for me was the post gain setting. By default, on the default preset, it was set very high, which made it sound very compressed and squishy, which perhaps is great for Eddie Van Halen fans, but for modern rhythm tones, not so much. So the key for me was to turn down the post gain quite a bit, so very low, and to compensate, I just had to crank the output a little bit. So yeah, I really like the fact that you can connect this to that app to tweak it even further for more realism. A lot of times with amp modelers, I miss some of that extra functionality, so to speak. So it's really cool how you can really customize the tone that way. What I did not realize up front was that you cannot load your own IRs into this. Even if you were able to load just one, that would have been great, but it is how it is. At least you can turn it off. So for the intro demo, I used the CA V30 option, which is basically a Mesa Boogie 4x12 cabinet with V30s. And in a minute, we're also going to try it with the cab sim off and try some ML Sound Lab IRs. Now, while the app is great, I had a little bit of trouble connecting to the pedal. So in some cases, when I was connected to the pedal with the app and I put my phone away for like 15 minutes or so, it wouldn't reconnect. So I had to like restart the app once or twice before it wanted to connect again. So that's a little bit strange. Maybe it's my phone. I don't know. But that was one thing that I noticed. I think that the pedal itself is very sturdy. Yeah, I mean, the knobs, they have a nice resistance to them. And overall, I'm quite impressed with this pedal. I think it sounds absolutely awesome and quite close to my real amplifier. So that's what we're going to try now. We're going to compare it. First, we're going to do that in a blind test. And so yeah, this is my Peavey 6505 1992 original. It's not the original block letter 5150, of course, but it's basically identical. And they made this version of the Peavey 6505 to sort of go back to that original and make it sound exactly the same. So it should sound identical to this pedal. Of course, I'm going to use my own reactive load, which is the RedSeven Amp Central, which sounds awesome, but that's probably a different load than what they used to model their 5150. So there might be some small differences there if the modeling is accurate, of course. And of course, I used the lead channel, which is my favorite channel for high gain tones. So that's what I'm going to use for this entire video, basically. And as I mentioned, this time I'm using an external IR, an IR from ML Sound Lab, a reflex IR from the new Damon 60 speaker option. Sounds really nice, brings the mids forward quite nicely, and I'm using the perfect mic blend there. And of course, I'm using the exact same IR for the real amplifier as well as the pedal. We're going to do a blind test to see if you guys can guess which one is the Anti 1992 high gain amp pedal and which one is the real Peavey amplifier. Let's take a listen. Check it out. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but to me that sounded really close. Perhaps there were some minor differences here and there, like in the EQ curve or in the attack, but yeah, it sounded impressive. There wasn't any tone in there that didn't sound realistic or anything like that. So yeah, this definitely sort of solidifies my feelings about this pedal, that it does sound and feel really accurate. So I'm quite impressed. Now let's do the reveal and see which one is which one was the pedal and which one was the amplifier on the lead channel. Let's take a listen. Okay, so yeah, there you have it. The first one was the Peavey 6505 1992 original, the real tube amplifier through my reactive load. And B was the Universal Audio Anti. So super close indeed, super close. So again, I really like this pedal a lot because it sounds great. It sounds really realistic. And I really like the fact that they added all the features that the real amp has, all the switches and more, like the biasing, the boost, multiple boost options, the room sound, the gate. I'm super impressed. And I'm really excited to see what Universal Audio do in the future with more high gain amp pedals. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How did you think this thing sounded in the comparison? And what are your overall thoughts? Let me know. If you want to buy this pedal yourself, check out my affiliate links in the description and the comments below. That would really help out the channel at no additional cost for you guys. Please also drop a like and subscribe, as that really helps the channel out. Really appreciate it. And of course, also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, and also thanks to Universal Audio for sending this over to me. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, see you soon. Cheers.